Well, hello, everyone. Welcome to Real Estate with Ryan. So excited to be with you on a weekend, on a Saturday, talking real estate. Our favorite topic. It's all we talk all week, and we love spending time with you guys on a weekend. Vols are in Oklahoma. No home game. But I hear there's a big concert in town, so don't know if you're going to the big concert. If you do, have a good time. Be safe. And thank you for tuning in. We're talking about real estate always. We talk a lot of news in the real estate, what's going on. We know the feds have made the final move. Did it happen? They cut a half point. So feds just recently cut the mortgage rates or the Fed fund rates. And guess what? The rates went up. That's right. Mortgage rates went up right after the Fed cut interest rates. Here's why. So that's what we're going to be talking about. Partial about the Fed cut. How will it affect you? How will it affect student loans, credit cards, auto loans, anything that you purchase? How will it affect you, the consumer? And then we got a really good show for you. So we're going to talk about surveys, how important and why it's important to have a survey. I had a little bit of an experience this week with a survey and the importance of it, and I thought we'd talk about it on the show, and then we'll talk about how that's tied to the title work and just the importance of that. You may not always get a survey, but we'll maybe discover some reasons why. We'll give you a little story time, what happened to me, and some things that always going to recommend a survey, and we'll talk about the pros and cons of that in the show. So again, let's get some congrats before we get going. So much news going on here. We've got some news in the real estate industry and some congrats. We got new listings coming soon. 629 Cummings Chapel Road in Sevierville. Congrats, new listing coming. Also got a new listing coming out in Clinton. Actually just hit the market. Make sure you're watching out that for this coming week. We've got Bingham Island. Congrats, 2322 Bingham Island in Sevierville under contract. And 413 Baskins Creek Road. Congrats to our great buyer. Got that under contract for him. And then lot 1 and 2 in Silver Bell Drive in Sevierville under contract. Congrats. And then to our great buyers, Mr. and Mrs. Hollander on 119 Spring Street. Congrats on your purchase. So a lot of things going on. Had a chance to watch the game last week, so a lot of movement there. We won't go over those stats or those numbers. We'll talk about that in the Vol update. But it's been a busy week. Big game tonight, evening, Oklahoma. I know where you guys will be in front of the TV. Hope to see an exciting game and go Vols. Let's see. What other news we've got going on? 7:30 they come on tonight. All right, let's talk about the rates and mortgage, where we're at in the how will that affect you? I know we're seeing movement right away. Not going to see a burst to the marketplace, but I do think we're going to see an uptick. A lot of sellers and buyers that we've been talking to. Obviously, if you're going to borrow money, you want to borrow at the best opportunity and the best rate. And a lot of times this year, we've seen that opportunity where the buyers and the whole market, right? If you're an investor, if you're thinking about purchasing, you're going, hey, let me just watch the market, time the market. We all try to do that, right? If you watch the stock market, that's a daily deal to watch the market. Well, real estate's no different. Obviously, with the rates were over to 8% at some point last year, rates coming down increases your buying power and obviously affects your bottom line. $400,000 house, rate adjustment on some of the rates that have adjusted could be to $200 to $400 savings a month for the household. That's a big savings in today's economy. Let's talk about why the rates went up and actual rates went up. Here's the puzzle. The market watchers, hours after the Federal Reserve rates Wednesday cut for the first time since 2020, rates ticked up by 4 basis points. And why is that? I fully expect the 30-year mortgage will settle below 6% in the next month. So my advice would be for people not to read too much into it. I mean, the basics on it is that a lot of the rate adjustments that we saw the previous weeks, that they already have some of those rates built in. So it's hovering low, a little bit under 6. 30-year has now about 6.17. Get with your lender or obviously do some rate shopping. I have some great customers that we're talking to the other day, and my lender's talking to them. And so doing some comparison shopping, which is really good. You want to see where the market's at and who offers what. The market was hoping for a 50 basis points this year, and they were indicating that they were going to get a quarter, but they did better. And mortgage rates aren't tied to the Fed's moves on interest rates, obviously, but rather mortgage rates typically fall in advance of a Fed rate cut because investors are trying to anticipate where the central bank will go. And by that measure, the 10-year Treasury yield is a good gauge how mortgage rates will move. due to multiple reports indicating that the economy was doing better than expected from the jobless claims, as well as the surge in the stock market. People bail out on bonds and go to stocks. Whether bond yields will continue to go up in the near term is all up in the air. But mortgage rates will stabilize and come down more this year if inflation continues to decline to the Fed's 2% target. The data on jobs will also play a big part in the rates for the rest of the year. So most economists are looking that the rates will be below 6%. Fannie Mae has a 30-year fixed rate to about 6%. And next year, if we're talking about that, I think last show we were mentioning in projecting to 2025, we're seeing somewhere about 5.7. That's kind of where we're seeing the market at. A lot of refinance opportunities out there. I see that people are taking advantage of that. Keep in mind, it really only makes sense if you're going to make an adjustment on the rate of a refinance. You're probably going to want to be about 2%. So, if you're at 8%, it makes sense to go to 6, or somewhere in that range or in the 5s. But obviously, if you're going to do an adjustment, there's cost involved on a refinance. So keep that in mind and share that out. Now, if you have a FHA loan, right, or a VA loan, they offer something as a streamline refinance. So definitely check into those. And our streamline, that's one of our favorite products that we've seen and helped plenty of my past clients where, they were going to refinance. I said, Ryan, what do you do? What's the best loan program we can get? And then they ended up having a VA or FHA loan. And April, when we first got married, she had a property that was FHA mortgage, and we did a streamline. And so that was a very simple deal, no appraisal, just redo the title work. And I think it was a couple $100, and you're able to streamline from, let's say, if you were at 8% now to 6% or 5.75. It's a really good deal, and again, only with FHA and VA. So check with your lender or your service provider. They can help you with that, and that is definitely something to look into versus going to the open market and getting a refinance, if that makes sense. Federal Reserve's cut the rates, and then what is that going to affect with us regarding on other things that we may purchase? So like student loans, savings, auto loans, mortgage rates. Although the 15 and 30-year mortgage are tied to Treasury yield, we're still about 6.3% now. Auto loans are about 7%. They were at 4%. So that's quite a bit up. The average 5-year car loan is more than 7%. That's kind of hard to believe. That's why the car market's seeing a little bit of a challenge as the rest of the market. A lot of inventory in the market. Savings rate, as a result of the federal rate hikes, top yielding online savings accounts, rates have made significant moves for now paying more than 5%. Back in 22, it was about 1%. So, all those things are affecting the market. These are things you need to know, and a lot going on with the marketplace. So as we go towards the end of the year, you're saying, Ryan, it's time to buy, it's time to sell. I think it's a time to buy if you have to buy. I think it's time to sell if you have to sell. That's not a loaded answer. I just think if you're needing to do something, whether it's a job transfer or if it's a first-time buyer, there's never a better opportunity to get into the market. As a buyer, I see this as an opportunity that we haven't seen in probably 2 years, where it's a more favorable, balanced market. I don't think it's a seller's market. I don't think it's a buyer's market. I think it's just an even keel, very stagnant. But then I think as the rates will progress the rest of the year, I do see a surge. We've already seen several contracts come in just a couple days from this conversation with the rates. So I expect to be consistent all the way probably to election. Holidays may ease off. So that's my take of the rest of 2024. Let's talk about our topic today about surveys. Reasons you must have your property surveyed. A lot of times when you make a purchase, lot lines are pretty straightforward. Hey, this is my property, and you don't think of the survey. Surveys can be expensive. They can cost a couple $1,000, or they can be a couple $100. And in our area, surveys over the last couple years have been extremely slow, meaning they're backlogged. They're in high demand. And so sometimes when we have a closing that is a 30-day closing, sometimes 45-day closing, sometimes a couple weeks, it's almost impossible to have a survey done. But the importance of a survey is huge, as I am understanding. Now, I've been in real estate for 25 years, and I'm just like you guys. You guys probably bought and sold a lot of property, right? Brian, I've got this. I don't need your help. I understand, right? But we're always learning every day. We always got something new. And so, we own a property, bought a property up in Sevierville and Pigeon Forge. And, you want to get into where they have plat maps and they show maps of property, but a survey is so much important than a plat map. And so we're coming on the second half. We're really going to dive into this topic very deep as we go in the second half, talking about surveys and the importance of it. Then we'll also talk about the title exceptions, what you need to watch out for. So stay with us. We've got just a couple seconds going into break. We'll be right back with Real Estate with Ryan.
Your friend promised we wouldn't be homeless.
He promised. He's doing everything to fix it.
You need to call and have him fix it now.
Hey, man.
Found us a house.
No, not yet. Let me call you back. We're working on it.
Ryan Coleman with Hometown
He says he's doing the best he can do, honey.
Well, he's taken too long. I knew we should have gone with Ryan Coleman.
Choosing the right agent is never easy.
Call your hometown experts. We'll take care of all the details and make sure you don't get stuck in a motel.
I'm Ryan Coleman with Hometown Realty. The real estate market's changing every day. You need to know your home's value in today's market. Text your home address to 290-2290 for an instant, no obligation home evaluation. That's 865-290-2290. And remember, when you're ready to sell, we have a guaranteed sale program to get you in your next home stress-free. Trust your hometown experts. We've helped thousands of people just like you. All right, we're back at it, second half, Real Estate with Ryan. Thank you for staying tuned. If you're tuning in for the first time, thanks for joining us. We do this little show called Real Estate with Ryan where we talk about real estate, no politics, none of that. We'll leave that to the experts. We have fun talking about the East Tennessee housing market. How can we help you? Buying, selling, and always talking about good topics, and hopefully we have a good time together. And I appreciate all my listeners, so many of you guys, clients, past clients, people sometimes I've never known, and they really compliment us and appreciate that. And I appreciate you listening. My team appreciates that. A lot of work behind the scenes to make this show happen, and so we really appreciate everybody listening. News Talk 98.7, we're always there at 1 o'clock. Talk Radio 92.3 FM at 11 o'clock. Of course, we're streaming on X, Facebooks, and Instagram, you name it. We're out everywhere, social media, and of course, all of our iTunes, Spotify, all that good stuff. So appreciate you with us. Look, we're going to jump right in it because I've got a good show talking about surveys, the importance of buying one or getting one, right? And then the exceptions regarding the title policies, what you need to know. Even, right? I don't need a survey. Well, guess what? 25 years in the business. I'll give you a little story time about things we're working with and see how it's relating. If we're not learning, we're not growing, right? And so hopefully I can pass this on to you and some of my clients things just to look at surveys because it always is important. And it never happens until what? It happens. Guess what? Happens to me. So we're going 10 reasons why you must have your property surveyed. Before we're going to go to get into that, it's vol time. 60-second vol update. Let me get my notes here. All right, drum roll, please. Last week was a busy week, and if you watched the game, wasn't much of a game, but it was a beatdown, 71-0. Probably could have put up 100 on them, but it was an amazing game, and it was good for a lot of our players back up, second, third, fourth strings. A lot of players there. Nico was in there shortly, 10 for 16, 173 yards and 1 touchdown. Sean Bishop, 7 carries, 120 yards, 2 touchdowns. Dante Thornton Jr., 2 receptions, 64 yards on a route. Playing 7:30 tonight, Oklahoma, big game. Coach Heupel goes back to Oklahoma. It should be a good one. Hope you guys are watching. I know you will be, right? Enjoying. Hey, if you're out and about, you'll see next week our great commercial with Brew. Had a fun time with him, Brew McCoy. And make sure you like and follow our page, okay? Got to do it. Next home game, we're giving away tickets and Brew autograph swag material for all you guys and parking passes. So from now on, all you got to do, social media channel, Facebook, Instagram, X, like, share, and follow. Make sure you're on there so when we launch the program, when you see those tickets, you get the first notification. That is our 60-second vol update. Hometown Realty, proud sponsor of the Vols. Go Big Orange. So much going on, man. It's good time in East Tennessee. I know the housing market's not exactly where we want to be. It's picking up. I know sellers are a little nervous with where the market's going, but it's a good time in East Tennessee. Good time to be a Vol, and I know Vol Nation's excited about it. I know our team is, and we're rooting those guys on. All right, let's talk about the survey. How is important? In the survey, why we get one is to obviously cover the boundary lines. There's a lot of risks that come in without having a survey. In addition to professional survey, homeowners can understand that environmental certifications, zoning opinion letter, and then, of course, a floodplain classification, which comes in with FEMA. Part of your property's on a FEMA line. They're going to mark that. That's important. You may have flood insurance. Those things come down. Maybe you get a survey, you're going to build a fence. Last thing you want to do is build a fence, and to find out you have to take it over and move it because you're on the neighbor's yard. Sunroom, pave your driveway. There's lots of things that we can do with a survey and why the importance are. The information is essential for many things. It also discloses to mortgage lenders that is vital information that affects the size of your home, the parcel of your land, and then recorded in your deed. It's one of the things to think about. Obviously, if you're buying land, large tracts of acreage, things were done on plat maps. So if you're looking online or maybe you're working with a great agent in the marketplace, they may look at an old map. That doesn't always mean that is the boundary lines, especially if there's easements. Now in Sevierville, or so different places, let's just use Sevierville as a story time, up there, a lot of their people have not got surveys. And we have a lot of properties being sold. It's a very hot marketplace. And so now you have to really look at it from all different angles. And so there's easements and right-of-ways and different things like that. Now in Sevierville, we have a lot of public roads, but a lot of those public roads are private. So for example, let's say you've owned a property that is not public road, but it is a private road. So the neighbors take care of it, but let's say you're the only neighbor that has been taking care of it for a while. And then all of a sudden, there's a lot down the street, and they sell this land. And before you know it, you get a call that says, hey, somebody's camping out on your land. Now, this is not a joke. So somebody's camping out on my land. I said, what are you talking about? Oh, they're cutting in a driveway. What? So, I get the call that somebody's on the driveway, putting a mailbox, and before you know it, they're looks like they're going to be building a house. Now, the challenge on that is, what you think you're buying, even if you're getting it from the seller, you really need to double verify. So public road and private road is totally different, and especially in the mountains or in different places. So make sure you get a survey that you understand that survey is tied directly to the property, but there's easements, meaning access. So if you have a public road, that means anybody can come through. Fair enough, right? Even, Ryan, if you've been taking care of it for years, you maintain it, even if there's not a written agreement. So these are things to think about. Now, Mr. Buyer comes through, he's going to slap a cabin right off your property. So these are things that come up on a survey. Now, the challenge is when you go off, I see owner's word, or even certain deed easements, sometimes those plat maps are not correct. Those property lines. A lot of agents in our marketplace we work with, or if we go to the tax maps or the viewer, they have an overview online, like KGIS or some of the different tax maps. And they show an overview and a shade of what that property is. But understand, those are not accurate. They're not exact. And so if you're going just off the map to find out that your property line is moved over, that could be a big issue. You may think, well, we have a property that's down by their street. Surely they have access. But did you know that there's access to the front? And if you have access to the front, that's even if it's recorded, make sure you check these things out. Joint driveways, party walls, encroachments. All these are things to think about when looking at a survey. Of course, utility is huge. Don't think that just because, right, you own property and all of a sudden you see a power pole on your property, that it's yours. Literally the power companies and utility companies are relying on the buyer that they have done their homework and their research. And I see a lot of properties that are sold, including ones that we bought, right? We're right there with everybody because of the timing factor, not getting the surveyors or updating the surveys. So it's very, very important that you check these things out because the power company is marking the spot, but they're not putting in the pole. The consumers are, right? They're hiring a contractor. So make sure you check that out and know where your property lines are. Specifically, before you're making any improvements, you got to really think about this. You don't have to do a whole survey, but mark the corners, mark the points. Because if you're putting in a big privacy fence or if you're putting in a gate and you spend thousands of dollars to get that gate there, the last thing you want to do is take that gate down because now you're blocking access to it. So these are things to think about. Mark your lines, pin them. Come back in the day. Does it make sense for the surveyor? Obviously, if you have a survey issue, it makes sense. You're never a problem until you find a problem, right? You never know that there was a problem. And easements, things that you're going to want to do to go through and look at those. So I had an opportunity to go to our lovely courthouse and deeds, registers, and the people were just wonderful. A lot of time spent there. But in our deed and maps pages, you're going to get something called a title commitment. And some of the things that I want you to make sure you understand is that the title insurance is like anything else. I hate to say it. Got great friends in title insurance. They're going to insure everything and then make a list of exceptions. So when you purchase a property and you get title insurance, if the survey is not on there, if you think there's a potential issue, my number one thing that most people really don't know, I used to own a title insurance company for a while, short, brief time. And they have something called an enhanced coverage policy. An enhanced coverage policy also insures against survey claims. So if you're ever going to get title insurance, it's the number one thing I would ever get. When we buy it, it's definitely there. Unfortunately, on this property, they don't cover it on every policy. So if it falls into a multifamily or commercial policy, then sometimes they won't cover it. So make sure you get an enhanced policy. Check your deeds. If they talk about a page or a map book, do the homework. Make sure your title company pulls that information so you know exactly what the right-of-ways and egress are. Always get that survey. I think at least mark your points is a helpful tip. I will always be doing that moving forward. Hope you've enjoyed this show. I love being with you every weekend. Y'all have a great weekend. We'll see you next week.